Hello there, welcome to the North Project. My name's North, and today we're going to be looking at pre-wiring some of the boards. We've got the room set up ready, so the boards are going to be put up. We have the legs sorted out, everything, and I've just been pre-wiring the boards with the bus wires so that we don't have to be underneath the boards trying to fiddle around putting wiring in. It's better to do it while it's leaning upright. So come on over, let me show you what we've done. So I know my wire choice is probably a little bit obscure, being the fact it's 4 square mil. It's quite large compared to what most people use, but frankly these have got to be able to cope with the amount of amperage you're going to put through it. Now with TT120 it's not a lot, but if you've got to consider that the rails are actually a resistance in themselves, because they're quite small. They're about the same size as 24 square mil or 24 gauge wire. So we want the least amount of resistance as possible when we're sending those signals out and we're sending the power out. Now, yeah, putting droppers on everything is fine, and putting droppers on every piece is absolutely fine if that's what you want to do. But if you're putting it through very, very tiny little wires, then it's still going to be a resistance added to a resistance on your rails. So larger wire, especially over the distances you were looking at, over a small layout where it's only on like a 7x3 or smaller, your bus wire is not going to be very long. But when you start looking at something this size, and our bus wire is going to be 35 feet long, and that's quite significant, and especially significant for a voltage drop as well. So not only are we going to use obviously 4 square mil wire and the 5 square mil soft wire, we're going to use 1 square mil, which is this is just small wire that's used for lighting in a home. But this is, again, this is stiff wire, because a lot of it, when it's been put in, it's not going to move. So you only really need stranded wire if you're going to be moving a lot of stuff, because if you're going to be moving it in and out, that's fine. You do need stranded wire, because this will break eventually, but it doesn't break straight away. And you know, you can bend this wire, you can bend it back a little bit, it's fine to be able to put it into where you want it to go, and then you're going to leave it. So we're using 1 square mil for droppers, and that's about the same size as this copper here, which, if I can zoom in, there you go, you can see sort of the size of it. So we're going to use that for the droppers, and then we can use some smaller wires if necessary for things like the signals, hopefully dapole, please, 120 signals, motorized ones, thanks. And things like you know, maybe your points, frogs, etc. So we can use that type of wire, but we can also use thinner wire as necessary. But for the most part of the power going through underneath the board, you want that as less restriction as possible. So we don't want resistance in that. Resistance over distance increases. So again, rather than having one wire come out and going all the way around the boards, what we're going to do is have our unit there and then go out twice and have 2 that don't join up at the end. We don't want to create a loop, but we're going to have 2, which makes 2 different buses going round. That's 2 shorter buses, and the shorter the bus, the less resistance. So that's what we're aiming for. So right now, as I said, we're just pre-wiring all of the boards, and then we'll be getting them up and putting the legs on, and we'll show you all that in a bit. So we've got to the stage now where we've wired up all of the boards apart from this one, and I thought I would go through with you how I do the electrics, sort of how I wire it up, for anybody who is a bit unfamiliar or a little bit daunted by the fact of putting wires together. So I'm just going to run through this one, but just to quickly explain. So this one here is going to go into the side of this one, and we have a soft wire a silicone wire here with a plug on the end. It's an Anderson's connector plug, and that's going to go through, and as you can, probably won't line up straight away, but as you can see, that will go all the way through there. But we're going to have its mate on a piece of wood, so just to raise it up a little bit, and that's going to be fixed in there like that. So that's going to be screwed down, and then this will go through this other side, and they'll join together when they're bolted together. So from here we have, so this is the silicone wire, the loose one, and this is going to be the fixed end. So what we first want to do, we can see we've got some connector blocks here that are fitted and some holes here for the wires to go through. The wires aren't actually going all the way through there, it's going to stop there because we've got two loops. From the main unit, we're going to have two loops going out rather than one, because both of them are going to end up being shorter, and shorter wires, less resistance, which is what we want. So the wire that I'm going to use from here to here, or in fact all of this bit, is not the silicone wire, but it's this wire, which is 4 square mil twin and earth, which is the stuff, well, they don't really use it in houses. 4 square mil is a bit big, but for DC, when you're running low voltage, you're running higher amperage, so you want wires that are going to be able to cope with higher amperage, because it's the amperage that actually makes things warm. So a good way to get these, if you buy twin and earth, is once you've you can nick the top a little bit with a knife. So just using a Stanley knife, and you're just going to open the top up a little bit like that. And once you get the earth out, which is unsleeved, you can grab it with a pair of pliers, which I haven't got, or a pair of snips, side cutters. Hold the wire tightly and just pull. And when you pull that, it then strips the wire for you. Now when you cut it, don't cut it short, cut it with a little bit of tag left on it. Get those bits out of the way, and then this will come straight off and expose the two wires for you. So what we need to do first is put the Anderson's connectors on, which are these things. Now this requires this to fold over because they're quite a large hole to take the wire, and it's much larger than this wire is. So we can use some wire strippers. Any wire strippers will do, but these are quite a good type of wire stripper. You'll find them on Amazon, etc. You don't need to go for very expensive makes if you're not going to be using them an awful lot, but it's good to, if you can borrow from somebody, or just get yourself a cheaper pair. Don't get yourself a really cheap rubbishy pair, but you don't need to go spending a whole lot on them. The only things that you really need that are decent is have one decent screwdriver, like a flathead for doing these, and a Phillips, you know, or a crosshead. And get yourself one decent screwdriver rather than getting oh look, I've got 20 screwdrivers but they're all rubbish. And yeah, they might be cheap, but if they're rubbish, they're really horrible to work with. So you'll notice if you have some good tools. I say intermediate, you don't need to go professional tools, but certainly something that's reasonable. So what I'm going to do is strip this. I'm going to strip it double length, so I can fold it over. It's probably a bit long, that. So just strip, pull it off. Now when there's the pliers. When you're folding the wire, you don't want to grab it in half and then try and fold it over. What you want to do is actually move it up a little bit so that there's more at the bottom and there's at the top, because by the time you've bent it round and then squashed it up, it actually comes level. So give it a good squash and give it a bit of a shape with your pliers, and as you can see, that is properly bent over, even though we didn't bend it over to start with. Now, that then fits onto your terminal. And again, one of these is invaluable. This is a made from Amazon, Perceiver this one is, but I'm not sponsored. But they make some good tools. They're reasonable, good quality, reasonable price. And this one, I'll show you the kit. It does come with a number of jaws, which are interchangeable, so that you can actually do a lot of different connections. So it doesn't matter what sort of connectors that you buy, you've got a crimper for any type of terminal that you use. So it can be from the smaller wires as well, right up to these. And even these are a little bit big for this one, but it does do it. But if you find it's difficult, pop the bottom bit on the floor and just press it through, and you'll have yourself a really good connection like that. So we're going to do that on both. So again, not down the middle, just up a little bit, so that you've got more at the bottom, and then bend it over. Grab it again, bend it over, and then squash it up, and you find that it all comes halfway and meets nicely. And then just give it a bit of a pinch and a shape so that it's not too big, so that your terminal will go on it. And again, pop it in your ratchet, and you've either got to have a really strong grip or use the floor. There you go. So them two are done, and now what we're going to do is put some shrink wrap on, just to cover these little bits up. And I'm just going to shrink wrap these with a lighter. So use a heat gun if you've got one, but if you've not, a lighter works. Don't put it right the way on it, but just move it up and down a little bit. Obviously be careful with lighters, and you know, if you're young and you're doing it, make sure your parents know what you're doing with a lighter. It shouldn't be too dangerous, but just gotta watch your fingers for those youngsters watching, if there is any. But yeah, try and use a heat gun if you can, because it's much quicker and much better. But this does work in a pinch if you haven't got one. And I actually have got one. I'm just being really lazy and not getting it out of the garage. So, but I've only had a few of these to do. So once they're done, they'll actually fit in there. So we just put them flat, and they click in, as you can hear. You get it right, and then that's a really good connection that can be took out, put back in, holds high, copes with high amperage, etc. And definitely anything amperage that we're going to use in the hobby, but even through to O gauge, which is obviously going to pull a hell of a lot more than TT120, and double O as well. So now we're going to fix this. So what we are going to do is cut those off, I think, because they are a little bit long. So we're going to give ourselves a bit of leeway here. Use your side cutters. Again, with side cutters, these ones are from Aldi, I think. You know, and they do some decent. For any of you that are professionals out there, I know they're not decent tools, but if you're only using them occasionally and once, you know, while you're at home, some of the tools are, you know, they're reasonable enough to use. So, you know, it depends on what you want to do. But I mean, go ahead and buy whatever sort of side cutters you want. Again, Amazon's got loads. So, but just, yeah, get yourself a set of side cutters. They really cut wire well, any size wire, it doesn't matter. It just makes it a lot easier. And you don't have to use your track cutters either. You don't want to use your track cutters for cutting wire. So what I'm going to do is put a bit of glue on here. I tend to like to use Type Bond, again, not sponsored. But I find it good glue. And I like to use the original stuff because it's aliphatic in how it works. So what I'm going to do is pop that in there sort of as close as I can, and the screws are sticking through, and it's probably really difficult for you guys to see, but then I am just going to screw that down. The glue will just help to keep it where it is, and there you go. And I can cut these down now, or you know, leave them fairly long, but I'm going to cut them down a little bit because they are going to go through there, but they're going to go to these two terminals here. And I have been doing yeah, brown on the left and blue on the right, so I think we cut them down roughly about there and there. So as you'll see, the blue one's going to have to go a little bit further, so I'm going to cut the blue one a little bit longer, and the brown one a tiny bit shorter. And that should work just fine with the ferrules. So again, from Amazon, there's a pack of these ferrules, which I'll try and show you without dropping them, because there's loads in there. So you can see these are all different sizes, and these are just little tubes that get well, this comes with the crimping tool for ferrules, which I've just lost. Oh, there it is. So that comes with this. Again, funnily enough, made by Perceiver. Again, not sponsored, but yeah, they do work really well. And these just help to stop you having to clamp down on wire all the time and damage the wire. You actually just all crimp the wire, and you'll crimp it all together and look after it a lot easier. So what I do like to do, some of you will notice I crimped the wrong ones. I crimped the wrongs on the thing, but we do need those. So I've crimped these. With these blocks, sometimes it's not quite as long as you would like for obviously the two ends to go in together, and you want to kind of butt them up as best you can. So with your side cutters, again, you can always just nip the end off, and you know, don't do it at the tip because it won't work. Do it halfway down, just under halfway down, and you just take a little bit off, and then just use your finger to guide where it is, and just square it back up again. And again, just take off a little bit and square it up, and it just makes it a lot easier. And here's the nice screwdriver. It's a decent screwdriver, and it makes all the difference when you're doing things like this, because it just makes it feel a lot easier to do, and you don't have any problems with the screwing up. So now they're in, it's also strong enough blade that it's not going to split, so you can actually put a decent amount of torque on it and really squash down them ferrules so that it's a nice tight proper fit. And there you go. Now you can, I haven't on this one because it's very short, but we will be twisting. For those of you who are thinking, oh, you should twist them, yeah, you can twist them. You don't have to, as long as they're running parallel to each other. That should be good enough, but a twist does help the inductance. So, but you don't have to twist everywhere. So again, I'll use the drill for this. All I've done is taken the 2.5 square mil little cable clips for 2.5 square mil twin and earth with the grey on, because this is 4 square mil, but I only want the 2 wires inside, so they fit perfectly. And I've changed the nails because they come with nails. Don't know where the box is. Oh yeah, there. So they come with nails, and we just pull them out, pull the nail out, and use a 3x16 screw and put that in instead, and it works just as well. In fact, it's better because it doesn't, obviously you're not trying to hammer a masonry nail through your board, which is not going to do the wood any good. So there we go, a little bit tighter. There we go. So I'm going to do a couple of those if I've got some. Where are they? Ah, there they are. Got a couple done already. So, and that's just to hold these wires next to each other together so that they are not flailing around everywhere. And it helps with the inductance and the capacitance and stuff. So there you go. So that's how that one's done. Now I'm doing these in solid wire simply because once these are done, it's not going to move. I'm not going to alter these in any way. And these blocks here, they're going to be where all the rest of it comes off. So if I need power over there, I can take power over there, and I can use 4" and take power over there. So it's not going to be an issue to get power to somewhere else, but this is just going to be the bus, which is just going around the bottom and through the middle. So everything's going to be attached to it, but this isn't going to move. So regardless, even though we're a modular layout, that's why the plugs, and the plugs, you know, handle any kind of the amperage and the 12 volts that we're putting through it. So yeah, none of this is going to move anyway. So I wanted it nice and solid, and I wanted it so that it's not going to cause me any issues in the future, especially if we're moving it from show to show, which I'm hoping we can do. So, you know, obviously moving it quite a lot, I wanted to make this as robust as possible, and not sort of get to a show and find out, oh gosh, I've got an electrical problem that I need to try and sort out, because that to me just seems a bit of a nightmare. I don't really want to do that. So this is why I've gone for this type of wire. You don't have to go for wire this big, but to be honest, with 12 volts, you really need bigger wire than you probably think, because the wire causes resistance. And if you think about the electricity going through the track's very small, as I've already said, and that's creating resistance enough as it is. So getting power to the track, we don't want to have any resistance. We want to have as little resistance and capacitance as possible, so that 12 volts can get there, because it only takes 40 feet of wiring and you can have a voltage drop, and you don't want a voltage drop. You know, it's because something like Pete Waterman's layout, for example, and I'm not going to say anything about his wiring, I don't know anything about his wiring. You know, he gets guys that know what they're doing, but they're going to be using fairly hefty gauge wire because it's so long. You know, so there's I know they have boosters, I think, as well, and if you've got a booster, that makes a difference. But it's either boosters and small wire, so you've got to buy a booster, or buy bigger wire. And for some of us that would be cheaper. Obviously I think Pete needed to use boosters, I think, so because that is just a very long set of layouts that he's got. So, but for us at home and stuff, you know, get some decent wire, don't skimp out on your wire, and you shouldn't have too many problems. So now what I'm going to do is put these ones, which I pre-did the ends by accident, and we're going to put them through, and these are going to be where these blocks come in. I'm going to show you, because my son's behind the camera, and he's going to give me those wires. There we go, off camera help, thank you very much. So what my son has done is he's made some little U-shapes to the size that I told him to, and they're a little bit long. So I'm just going to snip these off a little bit, but these are going to loop the blocks together so that we've got power to the outsides, and it's the outsides then where we're going to have the droppers coming into there. So as again, once we've done these central ones, we won't have to undo them again, because all the droppers are going to go on these outside ones, and the way they get powered is this. So if we're putting the brown in there, it's a bit difficult to see, but I'm literally looping, and this is 1 square mil I'm using to loop, and it's 1 square mil I'm going to be using to put in the droppers, which I know again is huge compared to what most people do. Tell you what would help is if I actually undid the screws, because that makes things fit ever such a lot easier. So let's undo all the screws on here. They're nice and easy with the half decent screwdriver. So, and then we pop that little loop in there, and then pop the main brown wire in there. So now that's been looped to there, and then we use a second loop, and that's going to go from that one to that one, and we then screw these up, making sure that they're not going to fall through too much. We don't knock them all the way through to the other side, because we're going to be putting stuff through there. But you can add wires to the back, and you can also add wires to here, and obviously there's going to be a positive, and this side's going to be the negative. So let's just tighten up that positive. There we go. And then we'll get the negative in. But it's easier to put these wires in first, I find, than when you're putting the large wire in, or the ferrule wire in, just because of the space that you've got. But that's that in. So put those in. Oops, put the other one in as well. And that is all your block powered and ready to add droppers wherever you need it. And all we're going to do is I'm going to go up from here. Now I'm going to cut this off roughly around here, just at the top, because what we are going to do is we're going to twist these wires, and twisting them is going to make them shorter. So, but what we're going to do is terminate them first with a ferrule. So take the ferrules again, take the strippers, so nothing too scary, certainly not for those who do electrics, but those who don't, it's not as bad as you think. And you can do this with this is solid wire, this is 4 square mile solid wire, but you can do this with any wire. The ferrules go right down to quite small, but it just stops the ends from fraying if you're going to use stranded wire and stuff like that. So and try when you are clipping bits of wire off, when it drops on the floor it digs in your knee, really hurts. So tidy up after yourself, not like I'm doing. There we go, so that's done. Again, we're going to shorten these slightly because of the distance in the barrel. Just makes it a little bit easier for the others to fit the other end as well. It's not going to make much difference to the connection itself. So now what we're going to do is twist them, I hope, and we keep brown on that side. We'll twist them a little bit more. And we'll put them in. And lock them down. Now the other thing is you can also get connectors, these connector blocks. There's many different types, and if you go and buy a cheap one, it's going to be horrible, because the barrels are going to be quite thin, and there's a screw going in the top of that barrel with a screw thread, and if it's thin there's not much thread in it, and what you can find is they end up threading really quickly, and you end up with a useless screw that can't actually screw anything down. So I would advise, if you are going to use the block method like I am, pay a little bit more and get some decent blocks. It will save you a nightmare later on, and it'll make it a pleasant job for you to do. So that's a little bit long, but that's okay, doesn't matter, because once they're there they're not going to be moving at all. So, and what we're going to do is we're going to keep them clamped down. So I'm sorry to all those people with OCD who's going, no, that's not straight. believe me, it's affecting me exactly the same way. And I want to get them out and put some more ferrules on, but quite frankly I haven't got enough ferrules, so we'll have to do as we're doing here. The other thing you could do is take the screws out. I could do this, look, if it's a little bit long, take the screws out and just put it in a bit higher. That's an easy fix if you've done something, you go, oh, I want it to look nice and neat. There you go, job's good, and they're all nice and neat and a bit straighter, and they've got a twist in. So, and all I'm going to do is do the same from there to there, and I'm going to do the same looping again. So that's all we need to show you for now, and I'll finish that off, and then the next job is to actually put them up in the room and get them all joined together. So we'll begin doing that next. And so there we have it. We've got all the boards up. It's ready for the foam, and then it's the first laying of the track. So thank you for watching a video. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you very soon with an update on laying down the foam and laying down the track. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.